Okay, welcome back to another episode of Phoenix Edge. This is an RPG podcast, and today we have more Final Fantasy VII Remake news. Seems like it's happening every week now, but Nomura announced that Cloud is actually going to have a redesign, and he's going to be more fitting with the original version of the game. He's going to be a little younger, and there's some other comments about that Nomura brought up. So we're going to talk about that and whether or not that makes us excited or concerned about the Final Fantasy VII Remake as it stands. Also, Kingdom Hearts 3 had a trailer that came out recently, and it looks pretty good, but there's been some speculation about some of the animation quality and some other things and certain scenes where it goes from fantastic to good to fantastic back to good. Does it really matter? We're going to talk about that. Also, me and Eric are in agreement on Lost Sphear. We officially decided to stop playing the game for a while, and we're going to tell you why in this podcast episode. And then also the Secret of Mana remake that's coming out this week. And we've been talking about Secret of Mana for a while now. We were excited about this remake, and we have some concerns about it. We have some things we like about it from what we've seen, and we're going to be talking about that as the last topic for this podcast. And I almost forgot to bring up, we are going to be talking about Final Fantasy 15, the Pocket Edition. That came out last week, and not everyone's been able to play it. It's required a newer phone for some reason to play it, even if your phone has the correct specs. But we are going to be giving our thoughts on the first chapter. You can, I believe, get the entire game right now for $20, so that is out there. But the first chapter is for free, so we're going to be talking about that. And we are going to go back into our usual segment of What Have You Been Playing, where me and Eric basically discuss whatever game we've been playing to start the podcast episode off on. Before we jump into that, if you would like to listen to the audio-only version of this podcast, there is going to be a link in the YouTube description for this video in which you can click on that, subscribe on your phone, and you can have the audio-only version so you can listen to in the car or the gym or wherever the case may be, and just be aware that you have that option. And if you're watching this on YouTube, we'd really appreciate if you go ahead and subscribe. That lets us know you're watching. It also allows you to get this video as soon as possible. So we'd really appreciate that. But other than that, let's go ahead and get started. Eric, what have you been playing?
Oh, I've been playing between two games. I have been playing the remake of Shadow Colossus, which is very good. I mean, if you like the original game, this game's very faithful to the original. Looks great. That's mostly what I have to say about that. But the two ones I've mainly been playing are Dissidia, Omnia for the mobile devices, and I've been playing Dragon Quest Builders that just came out on the Switch on Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been seeing rave reviews about the Shadow of the Colossus remaster / halfway remake. It seems like it's a step up from the original, which is pretty big, so I'm probably going to pick that up soon.
Yeah, you definitely have the purists that are calling out the little small tidbits of it, but from what I've played, I've taken down 4 giants on it so far, and it's graphically amazing looking. It looks more on the PS3 end in terms of remake graphic fidelity, but for what they did, like redoing all the textures and everything, redoing the voices and upscaling, and I mean, it looks beautiful. I mean, it looks very beautiful for what it is. And I was just like, I felt like when I played it for the first time on PS2, it's they recreated that magical feeling of it.
Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was kind of unsure how that game was going to be received, because initially when we first saw that opening trailer, there was a lot of criticism saying that, hey, like the original was like I don't know, maybe the feeling of it was darker. There was like a blue tint to everything, and this one seemed more cleaned up, and people were worried it wasn't going to have that same feeling. But all in all, like every review I've seen, everyone were like, yeah, no, you just got to play it because it's exactly like the original but better. So
yeah, it feels slightly improved mechanically also. I mean, everything it's mostly unchanged. But
yeah, I've heard like the buttons are mapped a little bit better this time too.
Yeah, it feels a little easier to get like the equipment you want out, and climbing the beast, and like just like from the graphical design itself, it's kind of easier to spot where you need to go.
Cool.
So
very cool.
Definitely some quality of life stuff. It's $40. If you've never played it before, definitely play it. I mean, I don't think it's just a great game. I think it's an important game for people who like to argue if video games are art or not. Shadow of the Colossus is a very strong argument on the side of video games being art.
Very cool. I'm gonna have to pick that up because I've definitely been interested in it. There's just been, surprisingly, there's been a lot of games coming out this year around this time that I want to pick up. And I remember, like 2 months ago, I was thinking like, oh, 2018 is going to suck. And thus far, like, it's not been too shabby. There's definitely games that I want to pick up this year. So you've also been playing Dragon Quest Builders. How is that?
It's pretty fantastic. I know I'm a fan. I'm a big fan of the Dragon Quest series, but as a game by itself, it's actually pretty fun. It is essentially Minecraft with a Dragon Quest theme, but it has a lot more to offer to it than like what the Minecraft experience does. It is basically takes place after the first Dragon Quest game. And it's the what if scenario of if the Dragon Lord actually defeated the hero, and the Dragon Lord pretty much essentially destroys the world of Alfgard, and you are sent by the goddess not as a hero but as a builder to bring back the towns and bring everything back to its former glory to set everything up. So essentially, the hero can come in and defeat the Dragon Lord this time. It's basically the goddess is coming in saying, all right, do over on the world. Your job is to build it back up. And it's really cool. It's separated into 4 chapters, like 4 different areas of the game. And each one you have to build their towns back up. Towns from Dragon Quest 1. And you have to go out into the fields, kill monsters, gather materials that you find, like with your hammer or your sword. And then you go back and you build things up specifications by the NPCs who are there. Now, you can still build it in the way that you want it to, but they still want you to make specific things. Like they want you to make a workstation, an item shop, an inn, those type of places. But how you go about it is up to you, and how sturdy and creative you want to be with it is also up to you, which is really cool. And if you're someone that's into those Minecraft type of games or into the Dragon Quest series, it's something that's really cool to get into. And it being on the Switch and not a console this time for that version, I think it's a really good handheld game. Actually, it has a very good well done pick up and put down type of feeling to it. Like you want to play it one day and then next day you play something else and you can go right back into it. You know where you left off. It's a very fun game. I can highly recommend it. Definitely on the Nintendo
What's
Switch.
The Dragon Quest element to the game? Is it the whole rebuilding of Dragon Quest 1 towns, or what gives it the Dragon Quest title?
It is based in the Dragon Quest 1 world. You are building towns from that world specifically. Like Chapter 1 is the town of Cantlin, which is in Dragon Quest 1 if you play the game. The monsters you kill are famous ones from the series, the ones the usual regulars that they have in there. The type of material you use is very much like the type of elements and terrain and textures that you see from 8-bit and 16-bit Dragon Quest games. The type of personality and behavior the NPCs have are very Dragon Quest-like, and of course the art design is catered towards it.
So aesthetically, it's a Dragon Quest game, but it allows you to build all these things just like the title says. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very simple yet effective way to put it.
Was there another thing you've been playing or that you want to talk about? Or
I will talk. I do want to talk about Dissidia Opera Omnia on the mobile. And I know people are very hesitant to play mobile games for how much they use a gacha type system, which I can mostly agree to, because most of them are pretty bad. I won't lie. But Dissidia Opera Omnia actually does it pretty well. The game is essentially you're picking battles and cutscenes on a map, but the cool thing is that unlike Dissidia NT, which is mostly an online focused multiplayer game, this is actually a turn-based RPG type Dissidia with a lot of characters. I already have 22 characters in mine, and apparently I'm not there's a ton more I can get. And the cool thing is that you actually get all these characters through just playing the main story or special events that come up. The gacha system in the game offers no characters. The only thing it offers is better weapons and armor, which are not highly prevalent until you get more near the end game scene of it. Okay. But I'm on chapter 4 right now, and the story is serviceable but fun. Sure. At the same time, it's nothing to write home about, but it's really cool to see your favorite characters from Final Fantasy come together in a crossover. For 7 you got Cloud, Tifa, and Yuffie who's there, and then for 9 you have Zidane, Vivi, and Steiner you can play with. And there's multiple characters from each Final Fantasy that appear as playable, and it's really cool because their movesets or their special unique traits are similar to how they are in their original games, kind of like how all the Dissidias are. And I say if you're looking for something to distract you while you're out, I mean, it does pretty well. It doesn't do a lot to try to get you to spend money. I can't speak on behalf of the endgame part of it, sure. But you can go through that main story, and it has no stamina bar on top of that. You can go through the main stories as much as you want. The only time they have stamina is in this very special interdimensional rift realm, where you get a lot of treasures and EXP from it, but you're limited on how much you can go in there. So, I mean, and that's fair. Right. So you're not overusing it. But I think it's one of the better mobile games out there. And, if you're bored, you're looking for something to do on your way to work or school or something, I mean, it's a nice pickup, do a few battles, and put it back in your pocket type of game.
Is it free to play, or how much is it?
It's free to play. You don't have to spend anything.
That's pretty crazy. I feel like I was out of the loop, but I didn't even know about that game until you sent me a message. You're like, hey man, I'm actually having a lot of fun with this game. I had to look it up. I was like, wait, what is this? And I looked at it and I was like, oh wow, I didn't even know about this. So busy with the trying to get the Pocket Edition to work on my phone this week. So
at least you can get it to work.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about that later. But I've been playing Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age PC release. It just came out on February 1st, I believe. I originally said I was going to buy it, then I started looking at it, and the price was $50. And I was just like, I don't know. I just spent $50 on Sphear, and that was kind of lackluster for me. So I'm not sure if I want to do this again on a game I already own. And then I saw on Steam they're having a sale, and then I went somewhere else and I got it even cheaper for $30. And honestly, now that I've been playing it, I would have paid $50 for this, because just being able to play that game in the max possible settings that I can run on my PC, which is I don't run 4K, but 60 frames per second at 1080p. It looks really, really good on my computer. On top of that, they let you play from the hard mode right from the beginning, and I've been doing that, and that's dramatically changed my opinion of the Zodiac Age. Because if you remember, originally we were saying with the Zodiac Age that the PS4 version, it's this watered down, very easy version of the game, whereas the original was actually quite difficult. And that's mostly because of the jobs that just made the game just a quick breeze. Now that I'm playing it in hard mode, it's not really an actual, they actually went through and made it hard. All they did is made it so that you don't level, which I think was possible in the original as well if you just got a specific item. But regardless, just not being able to level has made me actually really dependent on the license board. And it's really added an entire new layer of strategy, because you don't have more HP or you don't have more MP unless you find it on the license board. So like it's actually like I'm actually like, dude, I need to get more HP, or dude, I need to get a new weapon. Like it's actually critical. Whereas before in the original, it's like, you just leveled up 8 times, like whatever, like I got plenty of HP, or I'm doing good with attack. It's like, no, like you will do 50 damage for the entire game unless you you upgrade your stuff. So it's actually been adding that layer to it that's actually been letting me enjoy the license board the way they have it set up. But also, like with the classes, I actually have been finding the classes useful. So even at the beginning of the game, for example, when I first got Pinello in the party, and it was like, well, what class do you want to make her? In the Zodiac age, I was just going through like, oh, what job would be cool for her personality? And this version, I'm just like, no, I need a white mage. I need somebody that can cure me. I have 140 HP. These enemies are doing like 30 damage every hit. Like I'm getting decimated. And all of a sudden, I got her in the party to cure me, and it was just like life got easy for a while. So it's been like really just like adding a whole new strategy, a level of strategy to it. I do wish they actually made a real hard mode that was actually like rebalanced, because there's parts of it that would still feel too easy when I would get like 2 or 3 HP licenses in a row, and it would just be like I'd go from 200 to like 800 HP, or sometimes it would just get really difficult. And I think that's honestly just because they just made this like simple design choice. Oh, we'll just make it so they don't level up, and that'll be hard. But it's better than the original. Go ahead.
So the progression system is kind of like 10 and 13 now, where you're depending on the board to progress and make your character stronger. That's actually really cool, because it does open up to you really wanting people on specific jobs, and it's actually creating variety within the 6, because the problem with like the original 12 and the Zodiac age was that you wanted to just put everything on the 3 characters and not worry about it, your 3 characters of choice. And it sounds like in this one you want to put as much as you can in each character and create a variety and make more out of the Gambit system.
Yeah, exactly. I think the way you put it, it's basically like, I'd say more like I've noticed with Final Fantasy X, where, Final Fantasy X, it didn't have the level up system, so you were completely dependent upon the Sphear grid. However, this is a little bit better, just like you said, because it actually has classes. So yeah, I'm not picking the job that I think would be the coolest. I'm picking jobs based on what I would actually need. And, if you're not leveling up, it's just like I said, like you are level 1 the entire game. So, I mean, if you get new equipment, that's going to boost your stats. So it's not like you're just getting decimated the whole time. But at the same time, if an enemy is weak to magic, like it's not like you can just go through there and just like, level up 10 levels over the boss and then just like cremate them with just a sword. Like, no, you need somebody that can do magic in your party. Or if there's like if the person keeps casting slow on you, you need somebody that can do haste, right, to offset that. Whereas before it was just whatever, I've got my 3 people and I've been only using 3 people the entire game, so these 3 people are like 15 levels higher than the boss, and it just doesn't matter. So I've been having a lot of fun with it. It's really like been like a challenge for me. It kind of made me realize that I think what they originally intended with this game was to have newer players play through the easy version of the game, and hopefully by the time they get to the end of it, they'll kind of figure out the system, and then they can go back through and play on the hard mode and kind of get like really like what the job system was supposed to be. But obviously, that didn't work out, because either players played the easy version and were like, this is too easy, and they put it down, and then veteran players were like, this is too easy, this is dumb. Or some people enjoyed it, but all in all, I think it was a good move, just giving you this difficulty choice from the beginning of the game. So I would highly recommend it. I mean, if it does need, I mean, I don't know if you're listening to this, I don't know what your computer specs are, but I mean, it's not going to be like over the top, but I mean, if you have an ancient hardware, it might not run so well, so you might not get the full visual experience. But I'm really enjoying it, so I would recommend it for sure.
Oh, that sounds good. Well, sounds like they made a lot better choices than that.
Yeah, well, I'm hoping too with the PC version that we can eventually get mods, like player-supported mods. I was trying to research it a little bit, see if people were working on it, and I can't remember what it is, but there's some piece of software they put on there that will make it like really, really difficult for players to really change the game too much. But from what I've seen, it's still fairly easy for future mods to come out where they could like rebalance things like enemy HP and enemy attack power and stuff like that. So I'm really hoping that somebody takes the hard mode and just kind of balances out a little bit more, and I think it would be even better. So I don't know.
Well, give the PC community time, and they're capable of anything.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we both have something to say about Lost Sphear. I bought it a couple days after it came out. I played maybe 20 hours of it, and honestly, I was going through parts where I kind of enjoyed it, but all in all, like I felt like the game was very, very boring. So I just stopped playing because like I noticed like I would be sitting down playing it, and I would put the controller down and think about other stuff I need to do. I'd be like, oh, like let me go empty the dishwasher, like or something. Like I would rather like empty the dishwasher than keep playing this game. Like I just got to the point where I was like, this is just not like it's not terrible, but it's just boring, you know?
Yeah, the story is very. I mean, someone else put it best, but like there was just it's. I just tried to enjoy it, and I just kept falling asleep every time I tried to play it. I got about 15 hours into it, and everything just felt the same from it. It's like each of the characters were predictable. It's like the cutscenes were getting predictable. Like you knew what each character was going to do. Like Locke was going to do something rash, and then Van was going to be a smartass, and then Canada, I think that's his name. It was gonna be like the voice of reason, and like the female character is like the voice of reason, and like every scene was playing out like this, and it felt like episodic, but not in like in a really good way. And on top of that, like the game just doesn't know what it wants to be. It wants to be a classical RPG, but it just takes things and just like tries to make something out of them, and like nothing feels like it meshes together at all. It just feels like a fan-made game, if anything. They don't understand what made games like Chrono Trigger work. Like especially like in the battle system. The battle system is Chrono Trigger is so simple. You can just like get it within like a few minutes time, and then like they keep adding mechanics on top of mechanics and Lost Sphear, and while it's not too difficult in its own right, it's just like a little baffling and frustrating that they're trying to bring these old elements back, but bring back convoluted things like this at the same time.
Yeah, it's just I feel I don't know, it's just a very oddly put together game, because in many ways there are improvements over I Am Setsuna, but just everything just feels much more generic. I mean, if you look at even the towns and like the overworld and everything, it really just looks like RPG Maker default tile sets. I mean, it's like it's maybe not that bad, but it's just like it's like very like it looks like they just doesn't have any character to it. Like they clearly like just tiled the same character, like tile over and over again for like the beach and everything like that. I mean, the story, I just feel like the story in general needed more work too. Like I think what you said, like it doesn't feel very cohesive is right, because as an example, this is going to be a minor spoiler in the story, but it's nothing like very big. So at one point in the game, you learn that in this world that they've only experienced sunlight, that like they don't experience nighttime, right? In this world, it's always daylight. And there's this old guy that's like, oh, back in the day, they used to have nighttime too. And like somebody suggests, because they have to break into this fortress, they're like, how are we going to get into this fortress with all these guards? And they're like, what if we bring back the nighttime? Then we can like go into the fortress while it's night. And I'm sitting there thinking like, that's like really like, We can't come up with like a different, like that seems really complicated. But anyways, so I'm like, whatever, I'm just going to go with it. So we do some things and we're able to bring the nighttime back. So we bring the night back and, our whole party's like, oh my God, this is crazy. I can't see anything. It's dark. So I, as a player, I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I'm excited to go back to town. It's nighttime. And I just want to see like everyone's reaction in town because these people have never experienced nighttime ever. I go back and I talk to all the NPCs in the town, and they all say the same exact thing as when it was light out. But like the city's like lit up like it's now dark, but like it's like no one's like had any effect. Like, and then we go to the fortress and like none of the guards are like, oh, like why is it dark? They're just like, who's there? And like we're like, we think somebody's here or something like that. And it's just like this doesn't, like, what we just did as players is not like having an impact on this world. And I don't know, that's kind of how I felt like throughout the entire game. It just didn't feel like it was like it felt like there was what I was doing and then there was like what was going on with the world, and like I wasn't really interacting with the world. And I don't know, it just didn't mesh with me. So I mean, it wasn't a terrible game, but $50, man, that was a little too much, I think.
Yeah, $50 is too steep. The problem overall I have with the game is that it tries to go too much by the books, but doesn't try to bring something to the table we have like never experienced before in the setting that we're familiar with. Games like Bravely Default did this incredibly well. Despite some a particular part in Bravely Default that no one likes, but besides that, it is a brilliant game. It brings in what we liked about the games of the past and modernized it to still make it feel appealing. Like the kind of like the Shovel Knight approach. It's like they take what didn't work back then and modernize that to make it better, and they retain the stuff that we liked back then, and they just bring their own little element to it to make it feel great. And that's actually why I'm looking forward to Project Octopath also. And I played the demo and I enjoyed the demo.
Yeah.
It's like it has that classic feeling, but it brought it to the modern era. Lost Sphear feels like it's too lost in the past. It's
funny.
If I could say that correctly. Yeah, I mean, it just tries everything it can to reflect on the past, and I don't feel like it has the heart.
Well,
in it.
You know what it is, man? It's just, okay, Project Octopath, you play that, and when you play it, you feel like the people that made it, like, they're fans of that era of games, and like you feel like you're playing something that like they themselves would want to play, right? Whereas with like Lost Sphere, I just like when I'm playing it, like I don't feel like the people that made it like were making something that they themselves would want to play, like, and I don't like, I know that sounds bad, and like, and I'm not trying to like, bag on the development team too much, but I just think that's why Lost or I Am Setsuna, for me anyways, I think is just a better game, even though it's more bland and just it's only snow, only piano. It felt like there was like more heart put into it, and so for me, Lost Sphere is too generic. But I see what you're saying too, that like it was just it was so lost in the past that it had a hard time finding what it wanted to do. So
I can agree that I Am Setsuna's story feels more focused and more heart put into it. I think it has its own set of problems. Yeah. Lost Sphere, though, like you said, I can't recommend that at $50. That is not a $50.
Well, and I Am Setsuna, I think, was $40 when it came out, right? That's what I was reading online. People were saying that I Am Setsuna was $40 when it came out. I don't know if that's true. I picked it up for $25, I think, because I waited a while. But
I think Lost Sphere is technically a bigger game than I Am Setsuna. I think it's a
man. But like, think about it. Like, okay, Hellblade. How much was that when that came out?
Yeah, I mean, it was $40. I mean, I'm in agreement with you that it's clear both games are clearly not priced. I don't know why.
Look, I have a feeling that Square, because the Tokyo RPG Factory is a subsidiary of Square, so I have a feeling that somebody looked at the game and they said, "This isn't bad, but if people are disappointed with I Am Setsuna, we're not sure if they're going to like this. And so we need to make as much money as possible off the little amount of hype this company still has. So let's make sure we put it at 50. Those who are going to buy it are going to buy it. Because I mean, it's been getting like 6.5s on the reviews and such. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just say it's a very okay game.
Yeah, it's not terrible, but it's not great either. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, if you find it for $20, I say give it a whirl and see what you think. But $50 is way too expensive for it. There are much better games to play out there with that price point. And I mean,
Final Fantasy 12, the Zodiac Age PC release.
Yeah, if you've never played 12 before or don't own the PS4 version, I would definitely recommend that version.
All right, cool.
If you already own the PS4 version, then yeah,
it's kind of
just if you want the PC additional versions, just do your research.
Cool. So I think that about wraps up. We had a little bit longer of what we've been playing, but technically that last Sphear was kind of a segment. So, but moving on, we have. Let's just hit the Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition real quick here. So you texted me and you were like, "Hey, I downloaded the Final Fantasy 15 the Pocket Edition. I was able to get through the little intro sequence, but apparently you have to have like a brand new iPhone or something for it to work, right?"
Not brand new, and essentially Square. I think this is a controversy because I think Square Enix knows I rag on that game all the time, and they're like, you know what we'll do? We're just going to set this one phone requirement higher than what he can run. Because I own a iPhone 6, the regular iPhone 6, and a iPad Air, the first generation. And the minimum requirement phones, at least on Apple's side, is iPhone 6S and iPad Air 2.
Oh, wow.
To at least get the game running. I tried to download it and it gave me a warning message that said the game may not work or run as well. We can't guarantee that it won't crash on you or anything. I'm like, okay, it's fine. The first episode's free. Let's see what I can do with it. And as soon as it gets to the gameplay, boom, crashes. Both of my devices just go straight out.
See, okay, here's my experience because I have an Android Note 4 and I refuse to buy a newer phone because I've had it in an OtterBox. It completely looks brand new. I bought a new battery on it. Works fine, right? So I downloaded the game and I didn't get any messages or anything that said it wouldn't work. I was able to watch the entire introductory sequence, where it redoes the entire intro of the game and all the way up to where Cindy's like, "Hey, y'all," and then you have to go get like you have to go kill some scorpions to, pay for your car because apparently a prince doesn't have enough money to repair his own car. So I got to that part and then the screen pops up and it's like, "Hey, to keep playing, you have to download all these updates to it was like 500 megabytes to download to play the rest of the game." And I was like, oh, "Okay, that's weird. I thought we already downloaded this." And I was like, "Nope, you have to download it." So I'm like, "Okay, go ahead, download."
To download the entire game, I heard it was 8 gig. You had to at least have 8 gigabytes of space open on.
Well, which is a lot, right? But here's the thing: it was having me download this 500 megabyte file and 10 different independent files, and then it was throttling the speed, so it was going so slow. I looked at it well, first off, I had to look at the Final Fantasy 15 download screen and I had to intently keep my eyes on it because if my screen shut off and then I turned it back on, it was completely logged out and it had to start over. So I had to keep staring at it and keep touching my screen and make sure it wouldn't go off. And then I swear to God, they were throttling the internet speed because it took 20 minutes to download the first file and I had 9 more. And dude, I tried several times, but just sitting there staring at my screen and everything, it got so old that I just eventually just stopped doing it. But
you likely were trying to download the same time as other people.
Yeah, that's probably.
So it was probably going a little slower through their servers. From what I experienced and watching someone else play it, it is really, in terms of just the story, like even down to the character movements of the original, it's shot by shot like the scenes from the game, like except it's like the new character models, which I personally find ugly, but I mean some people have been
well, isn't it?
I mean that's a nitpick.
I think. Okay, first off, yeah, the character models are weird, which I could almost get over. But isn't it strange? I find it strange that the mouths do not move when they talk. Was that awkward for you? For me, it just kept driving me nuts that like they would just like bob their head and like this deep voice was coming from them. I'm like, oh, whose idea was this? I don't know. To me, it was strange, and I saw a couple other people online talking about it, but.
Yeah, it's a little awkward, but I can get over it. I've played games before where the mounts don't move, and it didn't bother me, so I didn't let this bother me either. It's clearly a way to cut costs and stuff, and they kind of make an artistic choice out of it. So, whatever. But from what I have seen, the gameplay wise, it actually does look pretty fun. It's like very intuitive with how the game in the original works, and in this one you like use certain tap functions to hit enemies on the map. Like you can see everything in the battlefield, so it's easy for you to dodge and attack, and you get the basic stuff at the beginning, but over time you get more abilities and ways to do stuff with your teammates. I would say gameplay wise it does pretty well. Now to take note with people that the open world aspect of Final Fantasy 15 is not in this game. Once you do what you're supposed to, like in the main story, and I think like some small side stuff that you can do in the given area, your card goes straight to the next part of the story. And I think you can backtrack the previous areas, but you do go in a linear motion. You do not go out in some big open world to explore. You get the small areas that are given to you, and you progress the main story. So this is actually a linear version of FF15.
See, and that's kind of like why I'm still thinking about paying the $20 and just whatever, and just seeing if I can play it that way, because just playing like a very linear version of that game, I just want to experience the story that way. I know some people are upset that like you can't do all the hunts and everything, but I mean, honestly, I felt like the hunts were basically like the same thing over and over again. So then I don't think it'll really affect me that much.
And what actually people have been telling me is that the story is actually more enjoyable because it actually feels more focused, because it is more linear. And I've been preaching this ever since the first episode of this podcast. I'm like, if they just made the game in a linear fashion, then the story would not, suffer from it. It would benefit from it. And this pocket edition has kind of proven my point. And I'm just hearing left and right from people who are playing it. I was like, the story feels more focused. I don't feel like I'm distracted from it. And
well, I mean, I can echo that myself, just because the most recent time I played Final Fantasy 15, I wanted to do a playthrough of it with a DLC in it. And it was New Game Plus, so all of my characters were already, end game levels, like level 60. So I just, from the beginning of the game all the way to the end of the game, I just went, the only the main mission all the way to the end of the game. And it, like, just even that, playing the game that way with no side questing, it did feel a lot more cohesive. And overall, my experience was a lot more positive playing it that way. I mean, I still had issues with the plot, but it was a lot, it did come across a lot better. So I can see why people are saying that about this version of the game.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because this game is actually a pretty much the entire base story, not including the DLC.
I don't like that.
Story issues that are present in the base of 15 when it first came out is what's going on in this game. Someone please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is what info I have gathered from other people. I'm not able to play it myself, so I have to go off the word of other people. And those problems that were in the original version of the game before they updated with DLC and added cutscenes is what is going on in this.
So here's the plan then. I am not going to buy this Pocket Edition for $20. I'm going to wait for the Final Fantasy 15 Pocket Edition, Royal Edition for $15.
Oh, that's if they add DLC to it. They may just throw it out there.
Dude, they'll do it. They can have everybody pay $4 more for another. Like, they'll do it.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm all for these demakes, actually. I think it's pretty cool. It's like someone who just wants the story but doesn't want to get like a console for it, and they have a phone and they rather play it that way. I know that's like a popular aspect in Japan, and Dragon Quest XI even has a 3DS version of the full PS4 Switch game, which I heard sold just as well as the console. I think maybe even better. Well, that's Japan. They love their handhelds. But like that was very successful for them. So it's no surprise they want to try to do this for Final Fantasy. And I do hope the Pocket Edition does succeed and that like they try to do this again in the future, because gameplay wise, the Pocket Edition is pretty fun. It is intuitive, but problems that you've had like with the story in the original 15 are very much here. And the story itself is not going to change your mind in that regard. But the first episode is free. If your phone can run it, mine can't, but if yours can, then I mean, just give it a whirl. I mean, and again, it starts off slow like the original game. No joke, like the first area you go to in the game is a gas station, the Hammerhead gas station, and then your next destination is another gas station. And then you finally go, and the third destination is the beach resort where you meet Arden for the first time.
Oh, yeah.
And then, like it just starts off slow, just like the original game. I mean, it's one by one. You can commend them for that, but man, if I was in the middle of that, I would have been like, maybe we should just add a little more here. Just a teeny bit more to make it more focused, more cohesive.
Yeah,
I'm sure this is a different company that made it, and they were like, okay, you need to just, here's the base game, recreate all of it.
Yeah, I can see how it might need a little bit more jazz in the beginning, just because as much as the side questing and such did not make sense for the story and what was going on in the beginning of the game, it did add like a little excitement for you to do something, right? Besides, these kind of story beats. But regardless, I think for all the extra stuff we've gotten with Final Fantasy 15, whether it be the crappy movie, the pretty good anime, all the DLC and everything else to do with this game, I think the Pocket Edition is probably the thing that I have the least problems with. Because like you said, I really like that they're like demaking these games. And it gives me some hope that perhaps in the future, Square is going to be a little less obsessed with having like top of the line like graphics. So like maybe we can start getting some Final Fantasy games out a little sooner than, has been the usual case. Because I mean, if this does well, somebody at Square has got to be like, well, maybe we don't have to develop a new game engine for every new release. Maybe it can just be good.
I mean, exactly. If they don't make a new engine for 16, and if they just either use the engines they have now or use Unreal Engine 4, then 16 can go underway just fine. Few years tops to make it, and they can release it.
It'll look good.
And it's not expensive as before.
Yeah, and it'll look good, and it'll probably have great reviews and everything, but nothing good's gonna happen when they start taking forever. So, but yeah, this is cool. I wonder if they're gonna. If this catches on, these demakes, I could see Square going back and being like, let's demake Final Fantasy 13 and Final Fantasy 12 and Final Fantasy 10. I could see them like contemplate. I think if they were to do that, I think the first thing they would try to do was, I don't know, they'd probably try to go back and do 10 or something like that. But regardless, I don't know. That's getting kind of out there.
It's possible what the thing with, 13 definitely a case to be made, but 12 and 10 are actually, you could actually put that like on a tablet and a mobile device and have the original game on there and it would run just fine.
Yeah,
these are like
true.
two PS2 era games. Yeah. You could just put those on there.
Yeah, you could just have the whole game. Yeah, that makes sense. So that's true. So moving on, we spent a little time on that, but that's okay. was exciting. Final Fantasy VII Remake. Recently, Nomura announced that Cloud was going to have is having a redesign. He pointed out the fact that you see in Advent Children and other places, that Cloud is a little more mature. So we're going to have a younger Cloud, and especially in the first game here. And I think he pointed to like the fact that Cloud was kind of a dork at the beginning of the game and everything like that. And so he's just like looking at it like, hey, this is a more realistic version of this game. All these events happen over a period of time. And at the beginning of the game, Cloud's going to be a little younger than we might picture in our head, which would have, I guess from what I saw, he's trying to make the case that like you can't really tell in Final Fantasy VII, the game, because you just get the same character model over the entire game. But I don't know. But regardless, what are your thoughts? I have some thoughts on it, but
I never cared too much for the design they used in that one, mostly because like the way his clothes are designed and his posture, and he looks like not just skinny but like sick, like skinny.
Yeah.
Like he looks like skin and bones. I do hope they put like a little more muscle on him, make his posture different so he doesn't look like he's slouching all the time. And, you know, and give him more of at least in the beginning, a little more of an aggressive look, and gets to have moments of weakness, like, you know, in more comedic moments, or, you know, when he's around Tifa or Eris. And, you know, and I think making him look a tad younger, I don't think he means younger to the point that like he looks like a teenager. I think younger in that he doesn't look as like worn, torn, or depressed like he does in Advent Children.
Right.
I think they're just gonna like spruce him up a bit to make him more out there, a little more energetic, and you know, make it look like the dialogue that he says is like what someone of that character. Like if you look at the current character right now that they have modeled in the game, it's kind of hard to believe that looking at him that he's going to say something like comedic, or have that cross-dress scene, or say, let's mosey on, everyone.
Yeah. And
so I do think it needs to, I think if you want that, I think Nomura's right. I think a little change, just not a dramatic change, just like a small enough change his posture, change his facial animation a bit, get his clothes a little baggy again, and I think you can get the original Cloud in there.
Yeah, originally when I saw this, my first reaction was quite negative. I think I was telling you about it. I was like, dude, this tells me that the marketing team got in there and they were like, well, according to you know, all the data, players tend to like a little younger of a character, so we should make Cloud young. And then Nomura just went along with it. And so I was getting a little upset about it. And then I started reading up on it a little bit more. I saw what Nomura actually said. And this is actually, I think, a little actually positive news for me for this game, because Nomura brought up the fact that he was going to be more modeled after who Cloud was at the beginning of the original game. And he said if players remember, Cloud was actually kind of a dork. He said that he was a dork, which I can kind of see where he's coming from. Granted, that was translated, but like he said, he's putting on he's cross-dressing and doing all this goofy stuff. And he's just a different person at the beginning of the game than he is at the end of the game, or any of the other forms of media that came out. So I like the fact that like they're like actually considering that, and that we're not just going to have this like mopey Cloud at the beginning of the game that's just like, I guess we can go blow up the reactor. I don't know. Like,
it is good to see that they're at least looking into what made the original 7 so great, and trying to make sure they recreate that instead of trying to make FF7 Advent Children Edition.
Yeah, for sure.
The original game. So, you know, you gotta give them props for that. At least they're trying to, but we'll see what happens when they actually show us something.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the big thing. So I like how they're just dripping like these tiny little like bombs to us. You know, Nomura's just like, yep, Cloud, he's going to be different. And then everyone gets all jazzed up, and then, you know, a month later we're good. And they'll probably release something else to us, but
feeding us a trail of Reese Pieces, man. Just up to like E3 or Tokyo Game
They're just
Show.
gently pushing us to like it just being like a completely different game.
And then when they build up all this hype, then they'll be like, "Oh, sorry, we have nothing to show. Maybe next year."
Yeah, well, they'll be like, "Hey, we have an exciting piece of information. The first game of Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually going to be a movie, like Final Fantasy 15." That would drive me nuts, but I don't think it'll go that route. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So moving on from there, we did have a Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer that came out. We've been having a couple of them every now and again, and this one came out just the other day. I think yesterday, actually. What were your thoughts with that?
It made me more excited for the game. It's really cool that they decided to bring a Monsters Inc. world along with a Toy Story world that was already announced.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it looks exciting. It looks fun. I mean, the game looks like it's chaotic in a good way. The gameplay.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a lot more you can do. They showed us more of the Toy Story and Tangled worlds, which it's cool to see that you get like 2 additional party members. Like, it's not like you have to pick people to put in your party like the first 2 Kingdom Hearts games. You have Sora, Donald, and Goofy, and then you have 2 assistant characters that join you. So like for the Toy Story world, you have Woody and Buzz, and Monsters Inc. world, you have Mike and Sully, which is really cool. The character designs of Monster Inc. are a little weird.
Sure.
But I guess it's like a quirky kind of weird. It's like something, it looked like your character models in the game because they change themselves into monsters to blend into their world, and they look like something that came out of Spore.
Yeah.
And it's more funny than anything. In terms of the designs of the characters from that movie, it's a little weird and a little more off-putting because when you look at the Toy Story one, it looks like spot on, like 1 by 1 spot on. Looks really good. Then when you go to Monsters Inc. world, the characters look a little more Disney Infinity-like.
Yeah.
Which is a tad off-putting, but someone brought up that like this may not be the final build. And even if it is the final build, it's not that bad. And it's just something I noticed, but it still looks good for what it is. So, I mean, it's fine.
Yeah, well, I know what you mean because when I first saw that trailer with Toy Story, I was looking at that and I was like, wow, this like Square Enix is like just downright impressive. Like, like this is just like the Japanese freaking Pixar or something. Like, this is just amazing. Like, it's so spot on. They could have, I feel like they could have made this movie like just with the animations. Like, it looked very much just like the movies. And then, yeah, I see what you mean where there's kind of a difference in, I don't want to say quality, but just cohesiveness with the other movies and such. But, you know, like you said, like it's still well done. And I don't think it's going to like really take away. I think you would get used to it regardless in the video game. So, and I think like for video games, like it's like you said, it's pretty good. So if that's the biggest criticism of this game, it's going to be a pretty good game.
Yeah, we also got designs, or we actually get to see what Riku looks like for the first time. And I like his design. I do like how they're making the characters actually look older. Like, even Sora looks older now. Like, in Kingdom Hearts 2, they were, like, all about the belt buckles and the goth pants and stuff like that. You know, like the trendy teen scene with them. But in Kingdom Hearts 3, they actually look older. They do look hipster-like, granted. But they do look like they're, like college students. That, like, that type of maturity level.
Sure.
Like a lot of the belt buckles are gone. Their designs are more simplistic. I can spot the plaid on Riku already, but he cut the hair. He has short hair now. His hair looks a lot like Noctis's in Versus 13. But the character designs look much better. The game graphically looks beautiful. The gameplay looks solid. That looks like a solid 60 frames per second gameplay there. And if it anything like the 0.2 demo that we got, which is actually pretty fun itself, it looks like they added a ton more. Like, you can do so much more with your Keyblade. Like, you can transform it like mid combo, like into a hammer or like guns. And like they're adding so much more to this game to make it like an actual step up from like Kingdom Hearts 2 and the other games that were in between it. And it does make me excited for it. Now, they didn't give us a date, which I'm not surprised. I didn't think they would. And, you know, my prediction was correct. They didn't. But I think E3 is, my prediction is they're going to show it off at E3. And they're going to finally give a date. And then they're going to market the hell out of this game. Like FF15 level market. And it's going to come out like in November and December. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I think everything that I've been reading, everyone's thinking that it's definitely going to make an appearance at E3 and will, at the very least, get a release date. Yeah, I think I agree with that. I think it has to come out if they're gonna give a release date at E3 this year, then it's got to come out at wintertime because there's no other. That would be the most profitable time for them to release that. I mean, unless they want to like give you a release date of like a year later, which would be odd. So, yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if we got a release date for wintertime, which would be good news for the Final Fantasy VII Remake as well, right?
I would not count that on.
Well, no. Not that it's going to come out this year, but if we had a release date for this year, for wintertime this year, for Kingdom Hearts 3 to come out, the fact that like Nomura could just be done with this game and just focus completely on this other game. Not that like I don't know how much that's actually affecting it, but it's got to have some effect, right? Just having to split your focus. So the fact that like okay, like Kingdom Hearts 3 would come out, that's a big release. And then now their next big release, only announced big release like that, would be the Final Fantasy VII Remake. That would be like the next thing on the agenda, I would assume. So, I mean...
Especially since it's going to be what we think be 3 games. He's going to be working on essentially 3 games.
Yeah, so...
Through the FF7 Remake.
Yeah, he's going to be a busy guy. I don't know if he...
He's always busy, and I'm sure he's doing character design for 16 also.
Yeah, and I want to hear information about that game. I'm tired of all this 15 stuff. And
yeah, I don't think we hear about 16 till next year, or like when
I would
they're
be
completely
surprised.
done with 15, then they'll move on.
I don't think we'll hear about 16 till like at least 2020. And I think that it'll be like a screenshot. They'll be like, "Oh, look at this! What do you think this is?" It's like a chocobo or something like.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's sooner than that, but we'll. I don't know. Square Enix isn't predictable. They go definitely by their own schedule.
Yeah, that's for sure. Very cool. And then we just had a last little thing we're going to address here before closing this off. Secret of Mana, the remake, it's coming out, we believe, by the time this Tuesday, by the time this podcast comes out. And I've seen some gameplay. I've had some issues with the fact that you can't play multiplayer online. They have it to where the other person has to be in the room. It's kind of been off-putting for this, especially since whenever you talk to people about Secret of Mana, most of the people that just love this game always say like, hey, when I was young, I used to play this game with a family member or my friends, and we would just keep playing through 2-player. So, you know, all the people that are nostalgic about this game, they liked playing it multiplayer. I don't think it's anywhere near as fun to play by yourself as it is to play multiplayer. And the fact that they would restrict you to just having to play somebody else like in your house, I think was a bad move, you know? Like I feel like they should have definitely, it's a missed opportunity to not have online play with this game. But I mean, there's that, and then the whole voice acting, I'm not very much a fan of at all. But I think you pointed out you can turn it off, right?
I saw in a gameplay thing, and the guy did point out, is that you can turn down or turn off the voice acting in the game. So, and not only that, what I also saw is you can switch between the remastered or the original soundtrack.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
and if the remastered's good enough, I'm just going to keep it on that. But if it turns out being awful, then I'm like, well, flip the switch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's how I am usually with most things. I mean, like I was playing Final Fantasy X remaster, and it was like, oh, give me the option to play the original soundtrack. And like, yeah, by and large, there's like a handful of songs that I preferred the original, but I just left the remastered one on because I was like 90% of it's better or good. So
yeah, 10 soundtrack was definitely remastered soundtrack. Like some were good and some were just like, oh, put the original back on, please.
Yeah, but I mean, with the Secret Mana remake, if like you said, I'm probably just going to leave the remaster on if the majority of it's good. But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts with the online play? Is that an issue for you or?
I mean, I didn't even really think about it till people brought it up, but it would have been nice to, but this doesn't really look like a high budget game.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't look high budget, so I'm not too surprised that they didn't go all out and make an online version. But if there is a local multiplayer version, then, you know, that's pretty good. Also, invite your friends over. Find 2 friends who want to play with you, or one and let the other one be in the computer. And, you know, just sit together and have a fun time with it, I guess. I mean, disappointing, but like not a deal breaker.
Yeah, I think it's a good way to put it. It's not a deal breaker, but it's definitely. I was like, I feel like you guys missed an opportunity with that.
Got to do it the old school way, boys.
Well, that's what they said. Like, so because I saw one publication or some journalist where it was said they were disappointed by that. When they told them like, no, there won't be online play, and they said, well, we want players to experience the game like they remembered it. So, you know, you'll have to invite your friends over. And I felt like that was a very cheap way of saying, yeah, we just didn't get to it. Like, but you know, whatever. Like it. Yeah, I'm in the middle on the game, so we'll see when it comes out. Maybe it'll change my mind. But right now, it looks like it's. I'm still in the middle of whether this is going to be better than the original, because there's something about that pixel art and just it just jazzes a lot better with me than this hiring some homeless guy to do the voice acting in your bathroom.
Well, we'll be sure to let you know next week. I'm personally not as sensitive to English voice acting as much as other people. I mean, I've watched cartoons all my life and from America, and like a lot of the English voice acting a lot of times just sounds like that. So I'm like, I'm not saying it's great or bad. It's, you know, it's something I'm familiar with hearing. It's, you know, it's hard to get mad at it like some people do. I won't point anyone specifically out, but like people get like really triggered when the voice acting is not that great. And I can admit there's sometimes when voice acting is just like downright awful, like Enchanted Arms or what was it, Chaos Rings. I'm like, those are just embarrassingly awful voice acting.
I think with this one, it's just like, I think it's more for me stylistically. Like, I don't know why. Like, I didn't imagine like they sounded like that. And then on top of that, like I said, it bothers me that the characters' mouths don't move and everything. But like you said, it's not like a super high budget remake, so it's a little more acceptable, I guess. So I'll probably just, if it bothers me that much, I'll just, like you said, turn off the voice acting and just read the text like I did the original.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, if it bothers people that much, you know, turn it off, no problem.
So, but we'll let you know what we think when we get it. And did you have any thoughts with the game?
I'll have to let you know next week. So far, it looks like a pretty faithful remake.
Yep, I would have to agree. So, thanks for checking out this episode. Like I said, there's an audio version, link in the description. Check that out. And if you don't mind, hit the subscribe button. That way you can get every episode that comes out in the future without having to, type it into the search bar. But other than that, we will catch you all next week with another episode. Take it easy, guys.
All right, see you.